All right, a very good morning to our honorable and respected lecturer, Miss Law. Today, me and my group mates, consisting of Lakshman, Chaman, Imran, and Kang, including myself, Janata Rao, will be giving you a presentation video on gaining insights from the global COVID 19, the effects of it, and the economic data in this scenario, which is GDP.
So, the COVID 19 pandemic has a profound impact on economies worldwide, resulting in alternations in GDP, employment levels, healthcare spending, and other financial metrics. The implementation of lockdowns, movement restrictions, and supply chain disruption caused many businesses to shut down and sparked economic downturns in numerous nations. Analyzing the connection between economic indicators and the outcomes of COVID 19 can offer valuable insights into the effectiveness of pandemic responses, enabling policymakers to create more effective strategies for future emergencies. So, what is the importance of this study? This report offers systematic evaluation of the economic repercussions of COVID-19 by utilizing various data sources, statistical techniques, and forecasting models. By investigating how the economies of different nations are impacted, it can assist policymakers in making educated choices regarding resource distribution, economic stimulus initiative, and healthcare funding. Understanding the relationship between economic robustness and COVID-19 mortality can enhance future readiness and responses tactics for pandemics. So the objective of this project is to analyze the relationship between economic indicators and COVID-19 outcomes, integrate and clean multiple datasets, and develop models for insight and predictions.
Okay, so next is methodology. Our approach begin with data cleaning and pre-processing using Python libraries like Panda and NumPy to standardize formats and handle missing values. Next, we conducted exploratory data analysis using visualization to uncover trends in COVID-19 case, economic performance, and vaccination rollouts. Finally, we perform a statistically correlation analysis to examine the relationship between economic indicators and COVID-19 severity using correlation coefficients.
So, from our study, we have decided that the pandemic delivered an unprecedented economic shock. Our analysis of GDP data across Asia reveals a stark pattern. In 2020, GDP growth plummeted, with some countries like the Philippines seeing drops nearing 10%, while vaccination campaigns scaled up dramatically in 2021 and 2022. Economic recovery, however, remained uneven. So, surprisingly, we found only a weak link between vaccination rates and GDP rebound. In fact, some nations with high vaccine uptake reported worse health outcomes, likely due to better data tracking rather than vaccine inefficiency. This suggests that vaccines alone weren't enough to restore economic health, which in fact is a critical insight for policymakers. All right, so for our project, we managed to do some visualization. So on the left, we see a GDP growth chart. So this chart compares economic performances across a sample of five Asian countries during the pandemic. The vertical axis shows the GDP growth in percentages, and the negative values, which is below zero, mean the economy shrank. So for example, the Philippines suffered the steepest drop, nearing negative 10% in 2020. And then Malaysia and Thailand also saw significant contractions, while Indonesia and India fared slightly better but still dipped into negative territory. And on the right, we have so this correlation matrix reveals the relationship between economic and health indicators during the pandemic. So the vaccine paradox, which is the negative 0.52, shows that the higher vaccination rates weakly correlate with lower GDP growth, which is negative 0.52. So this doesn't mean vaccines hurt economies. Rather, countries prioritizing health measures may have maintained stricter economic restrictions longer. So number two, the case and death connections. So the number 0.23 until 0.94 showed that the extremely strong correlation between cases and deaths. This confirms the expected epidemiological patterns where the cases surge, the deaths followed. And then number three is the GDP's puzzling links, which is the 0.54 slash 0.65. So the higher GDP growth weakly correlates with more cases and deaths. So this means that economically active countries had more population movement and then case reporting. So the key insight here is that public health measures and economic performances are complex in the sense that they are trade-offs. There are no simple solutions in the pandemic, and that is the key understanding that we got from this research. In addition, we also had to use a few models. So these models actually had a few limitations. So both produce negative R square scores, performing worse than a simple average guess. So this failure shows that there is a key gap. Economic recovery isn't just about health metrics like ICU capacity, deaths, patients, and vaccinations. However, there are many other factors that affect it, including the GDP. But aside from GDP, there are also factors like inflation and infrastructure growth that were not taken account when using these models. Therefore, it is unlikely to handle because it's more for specific sector specific impacts. So we should know that due to us being unable to use these models, we can understand that vaccines save lives, but economies need more, such as policies, industrial support, and more transparent data to build resilience against future crises.
For the future work, we could extend the analysis to include economic recovery after a pandemic. By using advanced machine learning techniques to predict possible future economic downwards and explore the relationship between social determinations such as education, attainment, and population destiny, and COVID 19 outcomes.
For the conclusion, this study analyzed how economic indicators influence COVID-19 outcome using multi-source dataset. The research highlights the impact of economic strain on pandemic response and recovery, showing clear disparities in health and economic relation among different nations. Integrating this data, source highlight the integrated relation between public health effort and economic metrics throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. The successful distribution of vaccines proved a key element in economic stability, which controlling inflation will continue to pose a major obstacle for policymakers around the globe.